Thank you everybody and welcome to another teacher talk session tonight. And tonight we are going to have our 110th session, and we are going to have a different educator from different part of the world. And she is Annie Altamirano, and she is an independent teacher trainer, an international conference speaker and author based in Spain. And I want to invite. When she comes, we are going to start our live sessions.
Yes, there she
Okay.
is. Okay, now okay. Wonderful.
All right.
It's wonderful to see you, Annie, here. I
I
was
I
little bit,
told you that my experience with Instagram videos is very limited.
not a problem, but we fixed the problem, and it's great to see you here. And before starting our sessions, I just wanted to say thank you very much for accepting my invitation for teacher talks. It's really great. It's really honored to see you here, and I hope we are going to have a very great session with you tonight.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Really, it was quite a surprise, and well, thank you very much.
You are welcome. You're welcome, Annie. I know about you, but maybe if you're ready, we can start
Yeah.
because we have lots of topics to talk. Okay, I know about you, but our followers and watchers, they would like to know about you. So can you tell us about yourself, please, and a bit about your experiences too?
Right. I'm originally from Argentina. I moved to Spain 20 years ago. I graduated as a teacher of English in Argentina. All my professional
Mm-hmm.
training was done there. And then before coming here, I did my MA in ELT and Applied Linguistics with the University of London.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, that was, when I start counting the years, it's like, wow. That was 2000 when I graduated from the University of London. And then I started writing. I started a career
Uh-huh.
in writing. By that time, I had already started teaching at university. I was in charge of teaching methodology and training pre-service teachers. And when I moved to Spain, I went on writing, teaching
Mm-hmm.
English,
I
mainly
see.
business English in company classes.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, for the last few years, I am an independent, totally independent, and a full-time teacher trainer and writer.
I see. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Annie. It's great. And so, what was or were your turning point or points in your own education?
Well, definitely, when I decided to do the MA in ELT and Applied Linguistics, I think that for some time I had felt, I had this feeling that I needed something else, that I wanted more training.
Mm-hmm.
Although after I graduated, I went on studying, that is, personally, I was always trying to develop as a teacher. I felt that I needed something more. And in 1998, I started the MA. I graduated in 2000. And then that, I think that that was a turning point, because when I finished that, I began writing. I began my career as an author, and then everything else happened.
I see. It's really wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Annie, when you think about all your, you have a huge experience about, the teaching English, and also as an author, as a mentor, or like this, or teacher trainer. When you think all of them, probably you have tried lots of strategies, lots of techniques or methodologies during your educational career. So, and I'm sure that you have a kind of a philosophy of teaching. So what is
Yeah.
it? What is your philosophy of teaching?
Well, first of all, I think that a good teacher should know and understand her students or their students and how they
Mm-hmm.
develop, how they learn. And I think that it is very important, particularly to understand what the differences are between students, because all students are different.
Exactly.
All our students are different, regardless their levels of English. They are individuals. So we need to understand them. We need to help them construct and transform their knowledge and their experiences of the world into positive experiences in the classroom, into positive learning. I think that it's very important. I think that a good teacher knows how to get the best out of their students.
I see.
And there is something that I always say, that your students may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel.
Oh, nice.
And I think that that is very, very important.
I see. That's really important point you mentioned, and really wonderful. That feeling, the feeling that we give them, the feeling make them feel about us or about themselves is really important. I totally agree. Thank you. Thank you. Would you like to add anything else, or can I move to another question?
No, we can move to the next one.
As far as I know, you are working as a trainer and also mentor, and you give lots of support to teachers.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How do you support teachers? What kind of things you are providing them, and how they can get lots of things or ideas and suggestions from you? Can you tell us about it a little bit?
Yes. First of all, I always say that I would like to think of myself as Yoda. Not as Luke Skywalker. I am a big Star Wars fan. And my favorite character is Yoda.
Yeah.
And I think that I want to think that I am like Yoda. I try to show them the way, and then give teachers the tools that they need to work independently, to identify their learners' needs, their gaps. I try to allow them choice, to show them what there is for them, and to allow them to choose what works best in their environments. I think that that is the key. Sometimes people make a difference between being a teacher trainer and a mentor. But I of course I usually describe myself as a teacher trainer and a mentor, but I think that I'd rather see myself as a mentor more than a trainer, because I don't like the word, I don't even like the word trainer. I prefer to consider myself a helper.
I see.
The person who brings to the teacher's experience the tools they can choose then to build their own repertoire.
I see.
I think that and I think that it's very important, because in that way they can develop personalized practices for their teaching context. It's okay if I tell them, okay, the communicative approach is this, and that. Okay, right. But as a teacher, I experienced that reading books and thinking to myself, okay, this may work very well with Japanese students or with German students, but not with mine.
I see.
And so thinking of how to adapt things to suit my learners. And so what I try to do as a mentor rather than a trainer is to show them, to show the teachers what there is available and to help them find their own way.
I see. It's a really great way to do it. Okay. Thank you very much, Annie. Thank you. Okay. It's about the teacher points. And as far as I know, you are also, giving support to institutions, if I'm not wrong. So can you also tell us about how do you support the institutions? For example, when do they come to you or do they find you? What kind of support do you give them to the institutions?
Generally, they contact me
I
because
see.
they usually contact me because they want to do some in-service training.
Mm-hmm.
They want to organize, I don't know, a professional development series of sessions. So what I do is I offer schools classroom observations, for example, if they wish. Now that we have gone back to face-to-face situations, if they
Thanks
wish,
God.
if they wish, I can offer a whole program, for example, which includes classroom observations and feedback
Mm-hmm.
for the teachers and for the institution. Also needs analysis to understand what the group of teachers that the professional development actions are aimed at will
Mm-hmm.
need.
Yeah.
Designing bespoke courses,
Mm-hmm.
be it online or face-to-face. I prefer, of course, always face-to-face. But sometimes if, for example, a group of teachers from India or
Mm-hmm.
Indonesia want to have a series of sessions, or a school in China wants a series of sessions and it's not possible to go to the place, okay, we can organize that online. Also, I can have a look at their projects and give advice on that. Helping teachers prepare lesson plans, supervising the planning of the lessons. That is,
Great.
I try
Mm-hmm.
to give a package of things.
I
Of course,
see.
that also depends on what the schools want, what the
Mm-hmm.
institutions want. Sometimes they want something very specific, 2 or 3 sessions on something very specific. I was just a little while ago, I was talking to a person who wants to organize a series of sessions, but on something very specific. Wonderful, no problem. Other schools want me to develop a program, suppose a 20-hour program of professional development, and then with teachers going back to their classes, and after some time getting together again and discussing how things went, what adjustments need to be made, all that.
I
So
see.
it very much depends on what schools or institutions would like to do. I'm
Mm-hmm.
quite
I understand.
flexible on that. I
I
mean,
see. Thank you
yes.
about that. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Annie. Thank you. And let's move to the another question. Again, as a trainer or mentor, if I'm not wrong, you have published or you have take part in lots of the books and you work with lots of publishing companies, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not wrong. So, and how do you support publishing companies and what kind of support have you given them so far? And are you still doing it or are you now away or can you tell us about it?
Yeah, well, actually, what I do is with I write mostly, but not only, mostly teachers' books.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Particularly, I love writing teachers' books because some time ago I did a webinar for the materials writing SIG, IATEFL material writing SIG, and I said there, maybe it's not as glamorous as writing a course book, and it doesn't give you as much money, that's for sure, but it allows me to put on my mentor trainer hat.
I
And
see.
so I combine my experience in the classroom with my experience as a mentor trainer, and I put all that in the teacher's books that I write.
Mm-hmm.
When it is a workbook, for example, I'm writing on a workbook right now. Writing workbooks is a different story because you have to base your material on what the coursebook writer has done. But depending on the publisher, you have quite a lot of freedom there. So I try to put in activities that I think will be interesting, not just for the students, but also for the teachers too. Activities that can give the students extra practice, but also that can be developed beyond the workbook. And in the course books that I have written, also, although as a writer you receive a brief from the publisher, and you have to follow the brief, I have always been very lucky with the publishers I have worked, and with the publishers I am working right now, because they always listen to me. I mean, they send me the brief and they ask me what I think. And sometimes, for example, I have been working on a project with Cambridge Global English for a long, long time. It's Cambridge Global English is a course book that is published by Cambridge University Press, and I worked with the first edition, and I am working on the second edition. And the good thing is that they asked me, "What do you think?"
That's interesting.
This is the brief. What do you think? What else can we do? And they listen to me, and I think that that's very lucky. Not all writers are as lucky.
Yeah. It's really great ideas about it, and it's really, you know, the teachers' books. It's really wonderful that without teachers' books, I think sometimes, you know, because you know they guide us. The teachers' books guide us. You know, sometimes even we check the book, the student's book. Sometimes we stuck and we don't know what different things can we do. And we just go to the teacher's book, and it's kind of a holy book sometimes. So we take it.
But there is something, for example, there is something that I tell teachers. Although I am a writer of teachers' books, I tell teachers, the teachers' books are not written on stone. So feel free to take or leave what you think will be useful. Adapt what I say, because when you are writing for an international audience, it's very, very difficult to be able to address specific needs. I try to give tips that can work for most environments, but of course, the same as there isn't a perfect student's book, there isn't a perfect teacher's book. So what I always encourage teachers is go to the teacher's book, use what you find useful, forget what you think is not useful for your students, and adapt.
Exactly. That's a great point. There are two comments. Can I read it for you?
Yes, please.
Nilgün says, as a teacher, I had always thought authors of the teacher's books and authors of the student books are the same, till I found out they were actually separate things, she said. And then she said another things, as a teacher's book author, do sometimes ask, what was the writer thinking while preparing this set of practice, especially the ones in the grammar part? Yeah, good point.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, do you know what? There was a time, years ago, when I started writing, most of the times the teacher's book author was the same as the course book author. In fact, when I wrote my first course book ever, I wrote the teacher's book too. But in those days, teacher's books were a different story. With few exceptions, they were not terribly useful. They were mostly an answer key with a few notes and the audio scripts.
I see.
So many teachers, that is, experienced teachers, didn't use them because they didn't find anything new. And novice teachers didn't find enough guidance. Fortunately, that has changed. And now
Yeah.
teachers' books are really useful books with lots of things, worksheets, tests, ideas, alternatives for different environments, etc. That makes the publishing houses choose different teams, different people for the different books. So there is a team, for example, with the people I write. There is a team that writes the teacher's book, the student's book, I'm sorry. There's another team writing the workbook, and it's me writing the teacher's book. And sometimes when I am writing, I'm writing the notes and I put side notes. And those side notes go to the editor, of course. The student, the course book writer doesn't see it. So I put the notes and say, hey, do you think this activity is worth doing? Isn't it a bit repetitive? Or that is, I give my opinion because
I see.
I have been, I mean, I was a teacher for most of my life.
Yeah.
In different environments.
Mm-hmm.
So I have experience of the classroom. And I think I can tell people, I can tell an editor, I don't think this activity is going to work very well. It's not usually the case, but there are some times when I say, hey, listen, I don't think this works very well.
Mm-hmm.
And they listen.
I understand. Yeah. They're lucky that you have
Yeah,
you give them a support. They are lucky. Oh, thank you very much, Annie. And there's another says here, I totally agree, especially the way teachers books and embed the soft skills in the course books is brilliant and very helpful. And also there's another comment from Aydan Hocam. Unfortunately, not all of them, dear Nilgün Hocam, but sometimes are not. Yeah, they say. The argument.
Yeah.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much, Annie. Let's move to, would you like to add more things or can I move to another question?
Oh, we can move to the next one.
Oh, okay. Thank you very
Unless
much.
there are more questions about this.
I see. Okay. When you think about your training sessions and the presentations, etc., in different countries, if I'm not wrong, you also been to Turkey. I know that for the sessions.
I went to Turkey twice.
Wonderful. And also different countries.
Yes.
When you think about them, what was or were the most interesting situation or situations that you faced?
I think it was all interesting for me because it was because I have been to Turkey twice in Ankara. I went to Indonesia to do teacher training. I went to China.
Wow.
I've been to Latin America. And it has been such an enriching experience in every place. Talking to the teachers, visiting the schools, seeing the way that is meeting the teachers. Sitting there, for example, in Turkey, I remember being in a large room with all the teachers of the school and teachers from the same, because I went to a school in Ankara. It's a private school that is very large, and it has different schools in different parts of the country, and so teachers from the other schools came, and so we worked together there for 2 days. And it was wonderful to see how they worked, the questions they asked, the different settings. Because, I mean, I was fascinated because I had never ever seen such a huge institution. Even here in Europe, it's quite difficult to find. And then in China, the problems that teachers in China face and the problems in Indonesia, each country is a different world. And it has helped me so much to have a perception of the needs of the teachers in different parts of the world, and that has helped me write my books and prepare training sessions.
I see.
So I think that for me, I cannot pick a moment. It has everything. All these experiences have been really enriching for me as a professional and as a person.
Mm-hmm. I see. It's really great. Thank you very much for sharing the moment. Interesting moment. And I'm sure that you feel, by the way, I just wanted to ask you another. Is it difficult to, to travel to different countries and to, to give the training sessions over there and then move back to your country again and then to get on a plane and move to another country? Yeah.
I
Is
love it.
you love it. Wow.
You know, in 2018, yeah, in 2018, I went from Madrid. That is, I live in Salamanca, which is close to Madrid, but I went from Madrid to São Paulo, Brazil, because my daughter was having her first child, my granddaughter. Yes,
Nice.
and so I stayed there with them for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Then I came back to Madrid. I came home, changed clothes, and flew to Indonesia on the other side of the planet.
Wonderful.
And then I came back after it was a week more or less. I came back. It was I think I spent 36 hours between planes and airports. And then a couple of weeks later, I went to Latin America and I went to Colombia, Brazil, and Argentina.
Wow. Wow. It's such a, the tiring, I mean, like, the tiring,
Yeah.
the travelers, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, but
I see.
I really like it. I really like
It's
it a lot. I
great.
mean, I love traveling. I love meeting people from different parts of the world, and I love what I do. So
Great. Wonderful. Wonderful, Annie. Thank you very much. And let me, before asking you questions, there are also some other questions from from the followers. Does she think, can I ask the question?
yes,
Does she think there is any similarity between the foreign languages education policies of the two countries, Turkey and Argentina? But I think, okay.
well, I haven't been to Argentina for 20 years, and things have changed a lot. But I think that, well, Argentina traditionally has always had a very good level of English because we have always seen learning English as part of our education.
Uh-huh.
It's not something extra that you do. Parents have always thought that learning English and being able to speak English is the door to improvement.
Yeah.
And if you, there is an organization that every year or every 2 years brings out the ranking of the countries that have the levels of English that they have. And Argentina is always #1 in Latin America.
Wow.
Still now, with all the problems that there are in my country. And I think that the key here, and for example, here in Portugal, I go a lot to Portugal to give talks and to do teacher training. Portugal works in the same way we do in Argentina, and they have a very good level of English, the population in general. And I think that it's because we teach English in a very communicative way. Whereas, for example, here in Spain, for many years, the focus has been on grammar. So for many years, people did not have a very good level of English. That is changing, of course. And children are having, now children and the younger generations are having a very good level of English. But for many years, the focus was on grammar, grammar, grammar. And okay, yes, we need to study the grammar. We need to learn the grammar of the language. But what use is the grammar if we cannot speak?
You are right. Oh, I see. I see.
It has to be at the service of communication and not the main focus of instruction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is in Turkey, for example, my experience was with this school, but I'm not sure that this is the norm because this is a very large private school.
I
Uh,
see.
and the level of English of the children, of the students, is very good, but it is a private school. And
I see.
in every country, that is a big difference. Because, for
Mm-hmm.
example, when I went to China, I also visited schools, but they were all private schools.
Mm-hmm.
So those schools have a very high level of English,
I see.
but they are private
Uh,
in
I
China.
got it. They everything, the facilities and the other things, the things that they provide, of course, they are not like a normal government schools. They are
That's
much
right.
more
You
different.
need, that's it. That's it. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot speak about the rest of the schools in Turkey or the school system in Turkey because I'm not familiar with
I
that.
see.
What I know is that particular world, let's say.
Mm-hmm. That
It
has a
would be
good
really
level of
interesting
English.
to, yes, and it would be very interesting to really see what is or to learn from teachers what it is like in
Mm-hmm.
public schools, for example.
It's different. It's
Mm.
different. It's the real low, the level. The level is low, not like the private school. Mm-hmm.
I think that that happens everywhere. Eh?
Everywhere, I see.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you, Annie. Thank you very much. Let's move to another question. So, when you think about it, probably you have, the familiar with lots of language communities, and maybe you are a part of them also, one
I
or
am.
two language communities. So, what are the benefits of language communities for ELT teachers? Do you suggest them to become a member, or which
Yes.
should they follow? What do you think?
I encourage teachers. I would encourage them to join teacher organizations, teacher associations. I am part of one here in Spain. I am the vice president of TESOL Spain. When I was in Argentina, I was a member of the local association. And you have a teacher association in, I recently
Yeah.
made contact with TESOL Turkey. Well, I don't know
Sure,
how
we
to
have
pronounce it correctly.
Tisol Turkey. You're right.
Turkey.
Tisol Turkey.
Um,
But
so
actually, we have changed. We are not using Turkey anymore. We are
that's
using
right,
Turkey. Uh-huh.
Turkey. That's
Tisol
right.
Turkey. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to pronounce it correctly because of that,
Uh-huh.
Turkey. All right. So you do have a teacher association there. We have recently signed a cooperation
Wonderful.
agreement with them. And I think it's very important because it's a great way for teachers to stay current with the latest trends, with the developments in our field, also to meet, for example, if there are regional events, continuous professional development events, to meet with like-minded teachers, to develop new strategies for teaching. It is very enriching. You feel supported.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Exactly.
that it is very, very important. I think it's something that I always encourage teachers to join a local teacher association.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I see. I see. And Azra, there is a question about it. How can be a member may have link? Azra, maybe we can share the links or maybe the pages for you after the sessions for to become a member of the TESOL Spain, TESOL Turkey, or another one is Inget Turkey also is another association for
Uh-huh.
teachers. Yes, Inget, and also other associations we have like ILTFL and also if I'm not wrong, that's all I think. If I'm, yeah, I remember them too.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
we
am a
should follow
member.
them.
I am a member of IATEFL too.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to England tomorrow
Wow. Yeah.
to do some things and then to Harrogate to the conference. Yes.
Wonderful. Good luck. Good luck there.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Annie. So let's move to the another question. So
Yes.
when you think about you have lots of experience with the students, you
Yeah.
mentioned about it. So what about adult students? Do you think that are adult students motivated for language learning, especially the last couple years, we can say, when you think about it?
I think so, yes. I have worked with adult students all these 20 years I have been here in Spain. And most of the times with teaching in company classes, for example. And I think that they are interested and motivated because when you are a child or when you are a teenager, your parents send you and decide that you have to study English. When you are an adult, you decide to study English because, and here, because maybe A, B, C, D, lots of
I
reasons.
see.
Mainly, I think what I have found is that adults are motivated mainly because of professional reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Because more and more they see it as a way of advancing professionally, as perhaps migrating to another country where they will need English to communicate, maybe for purely touristic reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember some of my adult students said, I'm not interested in learning English for professional reasons because I know the vocabulary. For example, people in engineers or people who worked in technology. I know a lot of English about technology, but I don't know how to ask for a pizza in a
I
restaurant.
see.
So sometimes the motivation is purely recreational.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Exactly.
think that in general, and for example, in a country like Turkey, with a number of tourists that visit Turkey every year, I think that people who are working with tourists, from a taxi driver to a waiter,
Mm-hmm.
they need
They
to
need,
study
exactly.
English, and I think they would be motivated for that. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. If you are motivated for something, you definitely it's your I think your job is much more easier than the students about like
Yep.
the giving your time to learn. I see.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Annie. Let's move to another question. And so about the new teachers, what do you suggest for the new teachers to motivate their students for language, learning a new language? This can be English, this can be maybe Spanish or French or
Whatever.
any other any language can be.
I think that the most important thing is to keep everything relevant and usable in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Show them, explain the benefits of
Yeah,
learning another language, whatever the language they are learning. As you say, be it English, Spanish, French, or whatever the language they are studying. I think that one of the most important, the most motivating ways to learn a language is through communication with other students and through communication with other people.
I see.
Also, create a classroom environment that is conducive to learning
Mm-hmm.
so that learners feel safe to make mistakes.
I see.
They don't feel threatened by making
Uh-huh.
mistakes. Mm.
That's a good point.
Also, I think it's important to give students, and I think that this applies to novice teachers and also to more experienced teachers know these things, but sometimes they need to be reminded.
Of course.
But give students agency, that is, give them choice, allow for
That important point
flexibility.
too. Mm-hmm.
Mm. So I think that if they feel that they have permission to say what they want to say in a way that they want to say it, I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's important. It's very motivating. Mm.
I see.
I think that that would be my my advice, let's
I
say.
see. Wonderful advice. It's really important, especially the giving a choice to students. That's really important point
Yeah.
that you mentioned here. Really.
Mm.
Sometimes, but sometimes without realizing that, we push the students to do one activity, but maybe it's not suitable for them, but we don't realize it at that
Yeah.
moment. And we put, okay, now we're gonna do this activity, and you're gonna work with this, I mean, like this student, and you're gonna work with him, and you're gonna work with her. Maybe they don't want to work with that students, or maybe they don't want to talk about this topic, or maybe they want to write something different, but at that moment we don't realize it, and then they don't want it, they don't want to do it. They, the down during the lessons, their face down, and you see it,
Yeah.
and then you cannot give a meaning what happened and what's something wrong here. You can't think about it. But when we give them a choice, as you mentioned, it's really much more easier, and also they become really happy because they know that, oh, we have a chance to choose this or this. Or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes giving them a free choice, like, okay, you can talk about whatever you want, you can write about whatever you want. That's also motivates them because something they really like it, they use it. Something they really like, they write it, or
Yeah.
something they really like, they talk in the classroom. Okay.
Absolutely. It's a that touches upon one of my favorite subjects, one of the things that are very close to my heart, that is differentiated instruction. Uh,
Exactly.
Provided the activities um, have the same, that is, we can offer choice because there are many things that we sometimes we have misconceptions about what differentiation is. So it's not allowing, sometimes it's not allowing students to do whatever they want. No.
I see. No.
Uh, you offer them a choice, but that choice should be conducive to the same objective for everyone.
Exactly.
So you can give them more support, more challenge, depending on their perceived abilities, but always working towards the same objective. So
Definitely.
providing that choice and providing options, because we normally think of the weaker students, let's say, but the students who are very good, who are really very confident, also need challenges, because otherwise they get
Exactly.
bored, they lose interest in the classroom, and you end up having there somebody who is trying to make your life difficult the whole class. A
You are right.
student who is motivated to work and who is busy doing something they like doesn't bother the teacher at all.
Exactly. I sometimes have the same situation in my classrooms with the the high level of students. Sometimes it happens, but I try to find something different to keep them busy over there, and so I can have a chance to deal with the low level students in my
That's right.
classes.
That's right. It's not
Okay.
easy, but with a little bit of organization, one can do it.
Yeah, of course, definitely. Let's move to another. Thank you very much, Annie. Let's move to another question. Just two or three questions left. Time flies, by the way. I hope
Yeah,
you are enjoying it. I hope you're not
I'm
bored.
loving it.
Okay, perfect, perfect. It's lovely. Thank you very much. And Annie, can you tell us an interesting moment that you still remember in your teaching or learning career?
Yes. Yes, there were a few. Um, Something that I remember very clearly is the first time I gave a talk at an international conference.
Wow.
I was scared to death. I was really scared, because it was an international conference in Paraguay, and I remember that I was presenting the activities that I was doing at the time with my students, with 16, 17-year-olds who were reading Animal Farm. And so I had designed a whole set of activities, and I had even recorded them doing the activities. it was funny because I asked a friend of mine who is a photographer, because in those days, at that time, we didn't have mobile phones that could record things.
I see.
So a friend of mine who is a photographer came to the classroom. He recorded the students, he video recorded them, and then he processed everything, edited it, and I had a VHS cassette with the recording, and my students were delighted with that. And I remember that I presented that in that conference, and I was terrified. And a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, who at the time was the manager of Longman, later on Pearson, he was the manager of Longman, Argentina. He came up to me and he told me, Annie, don't worry. If you are on that side of the table, it's because you have something to tell those people on the other side, something they don't know.
That's a good point.
And so I said, well, okay, I'll try to remember it. But funnily enough, after the first 5 minutes, I sort of forgot about my fear, and I went on to explain. But I think that still happens to me. The first few minutes after, that is when I start the talk, I feel like, why did I come here in the first place? But then I forget about that. But you know, I think that the day I lose that is the day that I will have to give up giving talks and courses, because I think that well, my husband is a professional musician, and he tells me that he has the same feeling. And so he says, the time you lose that, it's the time you have to leave. Because that feeling is the respect that you show for the people in front of you.
Exactly. Perfect. Really.
So
it's a perfect point.
I think that I always remember that. I always remember that.
It's really wonderful. I always say another thing is, if you keep learning, you keep teaching. That's also I say the same thing. It's similar thinking. As a teacher, if we stop learning new things, or if we stop, improving ourselves, it means that we stop also teaching at that moment, because we stop everything to the students.
I think that if a teacher stops studying and trying to improve, to learn new things for the students, in due time, that person will become the old lady or the old gentleman who teaches English. And you don't want to be that.
No, never.
Never.
I hope I'm not.
That's right. Okay. But the only way of never being that old mommy that is teaching me English, the only way is keeping up to date and keeping yourself motivated.
Exactly.
If one is motivated, the students will be motivated.
Definitely. If you're motivated, your students also really motivated. Well, thank you, Annie. Let's move to the last two questions. Okay. This is really interesting one. I'm really wondering what I'm going to say about it. Here it is. If you could have one superpower to use in the classroom, what would it be and how would it help?
Okay. I think that the superpower I would love to have is to be able to keep the students focused all the time.
That's nice. That's a great superpower.
And also, I would like to have the power of building strong relationships with the students. I think that I have managed to do that during my years as a teacher. Many of my followers on Facebook and Instagram are my former students I had when they were kids, and my students at Teacher Training College in Argentina. So I think that I managed to create that bond with my students, which doesn't
Wonderful.
mean that you have to be a friend of your students. No,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
no.
Mm-hmm.
But creating this bond with the students, I think that those are the two superpowers that for me are very important. Having the power to keep them focused, engaged, participating, and building that relationship with them.
Mm-hmm. I see. Thank you very much. Thank you, Annie. It's a nice superpower that we all would like to have it, probably. Okay, so let's move to the last question, I think. Are you ready for the last question?
Yep.
Okay. What is your motto?
My motto is, we don't teach English, we teach people.
I see.
That
Mm-hmm.
is what I told my students of methodology at the university the first day of the academic year. The first time a cohort came to me, I said, remember guys, we don't teach English, we teach people.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
So
I
I think
see.
that we should bear that in mind.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much, Annie. And that's all. That's all about my questions, Annie. But there's a question. Can I
Yeah,
divert you?
yeah.
Okay. Here is it. A specific question. What does Annie think about the use of artificial intelligence in language teaching? How does she see the future?
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this may horrify people, but I think, let's see, uh, many years ago, you were probably very young. I remember when personal calculators came into the classrooms, and everybody said that it was the end of thinking, that students would no longer know how to add up or subtract or whatever because we had those calculators. Nothing happened.
Uh-huh.
People have been talking about the disappearance of the printed book since the first electronic books appeared.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't happened. I think that that is, electronic intelligence has been around us for many years. The only difference is that now we can use it to create an exercise. We can
I
use it
see.
to create a summary.
Mm-hmm.
I use artificial intelligence. It saves you a lot of time. When you have to create an exercise, you give the platform or the tool the specific things, the specific indications, instructions, and it saves you a lot of time. Now, what happens? We all think that our students are going to use artificial intelligence to plagiarize, to create essays that are not okay. What we
I see.
need to do is bring the artificial intelligence into the classroom. Explain to students that artificial intelligence is not infallible
I see.
because
Mm-hmm.
it makes mistakes. And I can prove it. I have direct experience of that. Giving the artificial intelligence instructions and then coming up with something that they said, this is no good. This is not what I wanted. So what we need to do is to teach our students how to use this productively,
Exactly.
how to use it, to use critical thinking in order to see if what the tool has given us is true, is accurate, is useful.
Mm-hmm. I see.
So
Good point.
first we need to understand how artificial intelligence works. And then we need to teach our students how to use artificial intelligence positively and productively. For
I see.
example, we can give students a project and tell them to use artificial intelligence and teach them how to give it the instructions they need to give in order
Mm-hmm.
to get a result. That is also critical
Mm-hmm.
thinking,
Yes, really. Good,
because
good
it's
point
not like
about it.
saying, Aladdin, okay, rubbing the lamp. you know, rubbing the lamp and say, okay, Jeannie, create an essay on, I don't know what, for me. No, you have to give it instructions. And in order to
Exactly.
give the tool, the instructions, they need to think about what they
Mm-hmm.
need to do. So
Definitely.
I think
Mm-hmm.
I think that it offers a number of opportunities, but we need, of course, to teach our students how to use that in a positive and productive way.
Productive way. Okay. It depends on how do we use it.
That's
Okay.
right.
It's really everything depends on how do we use
But
it.
don't
If we
be
use it in a
afraid.
if we use it in a good way, it's really
That's right.
something great. But if we use it in a bad way, that's something really it takes lots of good things from us.
That's
Exactly.
it. That's it.
Mm-hmm. I
Yes.
see. Thank you. Thank you very much, Annie. And that's all about my questions. And before we are almost, the end and coming to the end, and and we can say that before ending our live sections, would you like to add anything else?
Well, just a big thank you to you for inviting me, to the teachers who are watching, for the people who ask the questions. Thank you for the questions, and well, I hope that in a near future I can go to Turkey again and I can meet some of you.
Yeah, why not? Why not? It could be really nice to see you, the face to face also.
Yeah.
But by the way, there is something, if I'm not wrong, there is a kind of an invitation. They said we want another sessions with Annie and Inget from Inget. Maybe we can invite her to hold an Inget Zoom sessions, maybe. There is
I,
another. What?
yeah, sure. Why not?
I
Yeah.
see. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have
And
lovely
oh,
memories of Turkey and the teachers in Turkey.
it's a really great feeling to hear these things from you, and thank you very much. And I would like to say before ending really thank you very much for accepting my invitation and being my guest, our guest tonight, and the sharing your suggestions, your ideas, your I don't know, especially the most important thing is your time you spent with us here, and we had a really fruitful sessions tonight with Annie Altamirano, and we are going to be here next week on the same day at the same time, as you know that. And until next time, take care of yourself and take care of yourself, Annie, too. And
Thank
thank you very
you.
much for this opportunity for us to give. And until the next time, and bye bye, everybody, wherever you are, and peace. And bye bye, Annie. Bye bye,
Bye
everybody. Thank you very
bye.
much.
Take care.
Bye bye.